Welcome back for season 3. I think podcast seasons are equivalent to dog years. So running a third season is basically like being 28 seasons in. And I don't think any of that makes sense. But unless the applicable metaphor might be arriving at season 3 is like coming up on being 28. You know how that felt like, or maybe you don't, but a lot wiser to the world, confident, maybe even overconfident, for sure more bravado. Julianna Riolino was an artist of interest when I attended the Edmonton Folk Fest last summer, 2025. I always make a list of artists I haven't seen live before or I haven't been as familiar with, but have great interest in. And Julianna was top of that list and didn't disappoint. A young Canadian straddling genres, generally infused with influences from generations long before hers, you just don't know what to expect live. And there was swagger, playfulness, exuberance for just being part of the whole thing, the big picture, on the stage with her friends, playing. Strong guitar playing, infectious riffs, fantastic banter. She went on this mental list of this podcaster who just gets a hunch sometimes for who would be a great hangout and therefore a great guest. And one of the central concepts I arrived at when creating the podcast was the desire to meet cool people, connect around shared experiences and interests, and feel at the end like I just made a new friend. Oh, and let everybody else listen in on it. Julianna checked all of those boxes. Julianna Riolino has released 2 full-length albums and an EP, her latest being Echo in the Dust, released October 2025. Following a successful run in the band for Daniel Romano and the Outfit, she stepped out on her own with her own material, grew and posted throughout the pandemic, growing her own audience and landing surprise successes like the runaway hit Against the Grain for a Subaru commercial. Very cool. My name is Glen Erickson. This is Almost Famous Enough. Thanks for spending your time with us. This is Julianna Riolino. Who knows how we pick up from where we were attempting. I was still in shoot the shit mode with all of my questions to that point anyhow.
Yeah.
Which is, often how I spend too much of my time on podcasts. But anyhow, thank you very much. I started by asking you about where you were at in your recent performance on the Road to the Grammy or Road to the Grammys. It's just fresh in my head. Because the last night, sorry, it was just
hey, maybe
all over
one
my
day.
head.
Maybe one day.
Maybe you'll have to apparently prepare your special political speeches, because I was saying this to my daughter in the car this morning. She was telling me about Olivia Dean's speech, and I said I was somehow, for whatever, maybe it's because I'm older, I'm in my 50s now, so empathizing, like they probably have the same show producer on the Grammys for like 40 years who every 5 years some big political crisis in the world happens and he knows every single person's acceptance speech is going to be politicized and remind everybody this isn't the year to like put the timer and bring in the music and turn people up. That was just, what a hell of a job. Yeah, I meant the Junos, of course. What a slip. I actually said that to somebody else too. I think I slipped about saying that they were Grammy nominated once when I meant Junos.
It's like it's the Canadian version of the same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Of course. It's the Canadian Grammys.
Yeah.
Or we'll call it that. It's a party, at least a lot of the time. So it can be pretty fun. So I guess the fun segue to that is I'm always really curious about what the road to where you're at right now has been like. And that's what I often like to talk with people about and find out. And you have an interesting history and path to doing what you're doing and where you're at now, which I'm curious about. I guess I'm going to start at the present though, and then maybe jump back and ask you some questions, because I like talking to people at a place where you're at right now, which is you released your album in October of 2025. And the way the business used to look of how you would get on the road or do a publicity tour, so much of that is so different, everyone I talk to now. And then I was listening to a comment. So I normally ask, sorry, I should say with that, I would normally ask the question about, how are you feeling about the record now that it's been out in the world? Because it's always this big thing about when you finally let your record out in the world, right? And you take that exhale and then you wait for how people are going to actually react or respond to it or see how they respond to it in live shows. But now we're this sort of time difference. And I'm curious. So I had heard you say, I think it was to Tom Power, I had to write it down. The record is revealing itself more to me as time passes. And you said that back at release time.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're like 4 months past that or so. I'm curious how that statement holds up to you now with the record you just put out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's my answer is the same. I think because I always feel like I'm growing and changing every day in the way I perceive things and the way I understand myself and other people. I think that's kind of what I mean by it. It's always kind of evolving and changing in my mind. And a lot of times when I'm writing songs, I'm not like, I'm going to write a song about this person, like I'm not like, falling into that Taylor Swift pastiche of like, I'm going to write a song about my ex-boyfriend. Like I think my songs can be interpreted that way, of course, but like all of them are sort of born of like of this like connectedness to my subconscious. And I think that it sounds selfish, but the songs are like almost embody me, my emotions and experiences throughout time. And like that always is changing. So it's hard to like pigeonhole them or say, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't want to have to explain their songs afterwards. Anyhow, some people are a little more vigilant about that. Thank you for the use of the word pastiche, by the way. Like that's not one I would hear very often. So that's a top shelf choice of a word on a podcast, by the way. So congrats.
Thanks.
Well, I mean, that sort of relates to other questions I had for you, having read some of the things or the conversations you've had with other people in the past, but more immediate just as a musician and someone who's been in the business and see how people come to it and your path to your own career, which started playing in somebody else's band and being a part of their career, as you did with Daniel Romano and the Outfit. The perception on the outside, either for press or just fans or whoever might be, you were a musician, you start your career as a supporting cast, a musician for like music skills. And then the interest might get into when you start your own career is like, what are your own things that are your inspirations, right? That bring you to like, I want to write my own songs. I want to do this now. I guess the question for me is like, my suspicion is that you always were that or this version that people see now before you were doing the other thing, right? So did you always feel like, I guess the root of where I'm getting at is, did you always feel like a songwriter?
Yes.
Or do you feel like you came into that after playing, or is that what sort of was leading the charge all along?
Yeah. Well, I was playing music before I was ever in Daniel Romano's band, and I was also writing songs before I was ever in his band. And because I was doing those things, he, saw that and knew I was capable of supporting him in the way that he needed. So, yeah, I feel first and foremost I'm a songwriter, and I have been trudging through life with my guitar and the melodies in my head and trying to, like before I was in the band, I was playing shows. Like I started playing shows when I was like 18. First time I ever played was in high school. Like when I was a kid, this is going back quite a bit, but I was always like in drama. I was always singing in plays. Like, they figured out I could hum a tune and they were like, all right, you're going to be in this, 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 and this. And I didn't mind it. I liked it. And then that kind of matured into playing guitar, learning, teaching myself, trying to bridge and create that connective tissue between what was going on in my mind and what I needed to, how I needed a vessel to bring
Hmm.
all of that into the
Hmm.
world. So yeah, I mean, I feel just naturally that I have always been a songwriter, and that is how I identify first and foremost. That's, I think, maybe the most connected I feel to myself in terms of just like creating. Like, I think I'm an artist, but I like to use different mediums in order to understand myself and connect with other people and my emotions and other people's emotions, whether or not that be like painting, or I also do stained glass. I like to do collage work. I think it's finding all those things that connect our
Mm.
ourselves with our subconscious. So yeah, I don't know. I think maybe I'm meandering on the question a bit, but
No, it's the connectiveness. I mean, you started by saying, what could sound like a little vague or washy, like it's this full embodiment kind of statement is kind of how you started off.
yeah.
But it really becomes about describing what that means to be connected to something more than just the here and now. I read some things. You had a great statement once about your songwriting, about connecting with who you were in the past and being able to let go of
Mhm.
it, like it's an active state of being able to identify with something as a way of being able to also let go of it, which I think is just, I mean, this is the beauty of art and songwriters, right? Is that kind of articulation is something the average person, I think, rarely even gets to in their own life, but it would probably
Mhm.
benefit everybody to go through those
Mhm.
processes and stages. And then as a songwriter, you get to put that out and give something for people, to kind of sink their teeth into and identify with, which is amazing. So that connectiveness for yourself obviously makes a lot of sense. I know the stained glass thing comes up a lot. Does everybody just love to talk to you about your stained glass work? Because I even did a thing I'm learning to do where not only do I like deep dive Google somebody, and secretly hope to be able to Nardwar them maybe once in a while. But I've started to run it through ChatGPT and then ask ChatGPT to go and look for everything that isn't in the standard press articles. Um,
Yeah.
and
That's
you're pretty
freaky.
young, so there's not a lot that it can go and dig up for you. But there was just so many stained glass references, and I'm wondering. I asked you when we were first chatting about how you felt about promo and publicity. Have you found like that just keeps coming up? Like people dig that up and just keep wanting to talk to you
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
about
interesting
that?
to people. Yeah, I think it's like such a niche thing, and it's very random. And I don't know, it's funny. Like whenever I talk to musicians too, it's like I think because we're also it's all the music is so all encompassing that like if something is so left field and niche, it's like almost a breath of fresh air. It's almost like I remember talking to someone like they came to a show and he was like this really nerdy music guy, and we were just like small talk whatever, and somehow my stained glass came up and he's like, why didn't you lead with that? Like just only because he's like his brain is so wired to always, how like you talk about something and you're so immersed in something so much that you begin to like stop appreciating it in the same way that like,
Mm-hmm.
anyways, I think people like talking about it because it's like super random, and you know, it's also like a really beautiful thing, I find.
Yeah, it's unique. You don't hear about it every day, so I'm sure
Yeah.
that's a point of interest. And I think people love seeing somebody also like, oh, you also excel at this other thing. This is what I find interesting about musicians, okay, is that there's a small, like it's like an 80-20 principle where like there's 20% who just seem like they're just all in on the thing that everybody knows that they're doing and they see them
Mhm.
for. But people only see like such a small snapshot like of our
Mhm.
lives, right? And like even either at home creating or being on the road, what are we doing with the other 23 hours of the day that
Mhm.
somebody doesn't see us? And I was talking about this with someone recently about how they often are like either like what you talk about with the creative glass, it's another version of a creative space and outlet, which kind of makes sense to, just an overall person who is creative, as I'd call them. But, other people, like you've probably met some who are real, they nerd out on the technical part of their equipment or their gear, and they sort of become experts in a way of that, or there's some version of this all over. I always liken it to Wayne Gretzky used to always tell people, parents, that they should stop putting your kids in hockey 12 months of the year. Let them play baseball in the summer. Let them play some other sports.
Yeah.
It'll actually make them better.
Yeah.
I feel like musicians have often figured that same thing out is we're not at home just practicing for 8 hours, and then having supper and then, going and writing music and then recording and then playing live. It's not all encompassing.
Yeah. It's nice to flex your brain in different ways and use different sides of your brain and to tactile things, using my hands in a different way, connecting and making decisions with different things. I don't know. I think it's good. They say variety is the spice of life. Okay?
They do say that.
Whoever they is. But I don't know. I find it it's a good way to decompress and to not, to shift my perspective and then, recharge and maybe gain a new perspective or, if I'm doing something stained glass wise, I'm drawing, I'm building, I have a hard time. My brain is very squirrely as well. So any activity I can get that I can just lock in on and zone out. Songwriting is one of those things for sure. But, like you're saying, I'm not doing that 8 hours a day. I think I would burn out. Having room to breathe is, I think, just as valuable of a tool, and knowing when you need things and listening to yourself. And, also when I'm making stained glass windows, I'm listening to a podcast or, learning something about something else. I can, focus on one thing, but then also listen and learn in different ways. So anyway, that's why I like doing that. But
I think it's great. I think it speaks to a lot of, I think it's just interesting to hear that and allow you to say that. I think either early or young musicians are often wrestling with their identity and what it's supposed to be like, and they don't know what the career is supposed to be like or the business is like, and that they don't allow themselves a lot of the freedoms that they don't hear about until they run into somebody who's been doing it and says those kinds of things. And I think it gives us a lot of freedom to, I'm not weird. I might also riding horses.
Yeah.
when I'm not making music.
Yeah. I think that I'm not, I'm not saying everyone's like this, but I definitely think for me, I need to put my mind on other things. So I'm not hyper focusing on, or I'm remembering or why I like doing it or, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm going to take a bit of a swing, and I'm okay if you completely shoot me down and I'm completely wrong. But sometimes I like to do this and you seem fun and playful. So I'm going to make some assumptions. By big swings, it's when I try to assume something and then that can go horribly wrong, but you don't seem like the type who will be bothered. But you seem a lot like me in the sense, and I'm trying to see if I am identifying with you in this way, that you have a very heart on your sleeve way about you, and yet it's very clear that you're processing a lot of things deeply and internally, commonly, which don't always go really well together because they end up always leaking out and ending up out. And it's a lot of shit. Is that accurate? Is that accurate about how you kind of carry yourself regularly and then into your music?
Yeah, definitely. I feel a lot and deeply.
Yeah.
And I'm very hard on myself as well. And
that's usually the other side of the coin.
I take things in pretty intensely. Yeah. And I care. I don't know. I feel other people's, you were talking at, when we first started this podcast conversation about interviewers and, just different energy and people, the energy that people bring. And if they're nervous or they're anxious, like, I'm like, oh my God, like, I feel like I need to like cradle you and tell you it's going to be okay, you know? So I'm like, I'm more likely to make another person feel better because I'm just, I just need everyone to be okay.
I get it. But it's not your job to have to do that. And just so you know, I'm okay. You don't have to worry about me.
You seem okay. I didn't want to assume, but you seem okay.
Nah, I get it. So I asked you about the record, and I'm curious then, okay, so we've jumped around a little bit, which is actually great. I love when that happens. So you started pursuing some music stuff, some creative things. You obviously were learning some other skills, the way everybody kind of does, right? Is like music slowly becomes more of an opportunity to take a larger space in our life. We get to a point where we're going to jump off is usually the way someone's career works. It's like, you know, am I that close where I can stop doing these other things and like actually focus on it? So I find what's interesting about yours is again, going back to you playing with Daniel Romano and the outfit and his band, but at the same time you're doing that, you're making music. Like you put out your EP in 2019 and you're touring with him.
Yeah.
So is the assumption correct maybe that what's unique for your story is that I'm assuming that everything was going well playing with Daniel, but that it just kind of became competing demands, like because he's got a good career, a good gig going, and you know your opportunities started competing for time and opportunity against that, and you kind of had to choose when to step out. Is that sort of how that played out?
Yeah, I mean, it just became pretty evident that there wasn't going to be enough time to prioritize my thing. I mean, also you have to understand, like, so it was like his stuff, and then Carson, his wife, is also in the band. She's got her own project as well. And then there was my thing. So we all really, I think, did our best to make room and space for those things, but it just got to the point where it seemed impossible, and it seemed like I was having to make sacrifices at the expense of my own career and my own creative output that I wasn't like, you know, it's just like seeing something where you're like, okay, well, is this serving me anymore? Is this making me a better person? Or am I becoming, you know, are we all becoming like resentful of this? You know, you spend like a lot of time with people too.
Yeah.
They were like my family. I spent the majority of my time with them. So yeah, it just got to the point where I had to draw a line in the sand and make some borders and boundaries and stand firm on those things. And it's, you know, too bad that we couldn't make all that work, but it is what it is. You know, it's like, what are you going to do? I don't know. It's, like I've always said, and I've said this in other interviews, I'm really grateful for Dan. And I think he's a brilliant songwriter. And I loved singing with him. I loved singing his songs. I loved being in the room when we were all creating and we were like a unit. But, you know, it just got to the point where it was like, it wasn't serving the whole group anymore. You know, it just was getting to a point where it just got a little bit not fun. The only time it was fun for me was when we were on stage, and every other time was kind of like walking on eggshells, you know?
Yeah, that's the worst with friends. Nobody likes getting to that point. Okay, my last little bit then about Daniel Romano would be, because this might have been later, like in the 2019, 2020. Did Sebastian Buzzolino ever come on the road with you guys and take pictures?
He did, but not when I was in the band. I joined the band in 2018, I believe. My first show was Maddie Fest in Toronto, which was a festival Maddie Matheson threw. I don't know if he's ever done it again after that, but
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I was just curious.
I wasn't there, and then I think like after we left the band, Seb came in after, like came down to film some stuff for them, but yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't. But I know
Okay.
Sebastian, and I know him well, and I love him, and I think he's a brilliant photographer. And
He
like,
is. He's a gem. Such a
yeah.
unique character too. Like he's so much fun to be around. So I'm curious then, what was the thing that you felt was you stepping out on your own and producing music? Did you feel like you knew at that time exactly what you wanted to do, or was it still, and I know that's a bit of a loaded question because that you look at yourself now, 6 years later, 7 years
Yeah.
later, and you probably have a much more
More
broader
perspective. Yeah.
perspective about who I am and what I wanted
Yeah.
to do compared to then. But how if you're looking back and putting yourself back in 2019, Juliana, like how convinced were you of what you needed to do for yourself, or were you more just following the opportunities that were popping up?
Well, I mean, I was still, I think, finding my confidence for sure. Like I released or I recorded that EP in 2017, and I held on to it till 2020. And it wasn't until 2020 that I decided to release it, because I was like, all right, like everything shut down, whatever. And then I recorded All Blue in 2020, that same year, because I had like so many songs.
And you sat on that one again for 2 years.
And I sat on, but that's kind of how long it takes to release a record, honestly. Unfortunately, I wish it didn't take so long.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, I did sit on that one for like a little bit while I tried to figure out, who was going to release it, when was the right time. And like, I was playing with Dan and getting comfortable in that situation as well, and having a lot of new experiences in that way, like touring more extensively, finding my voice in that band, and like performing in a different way, because I was always performing like with a guitar, or my songs, like, alone, or whatever. So yeah, I mean, from 2020 to when I recorded Echo in the Dust in 2024, like I felt like a completely different person, more confident. I mean, every single time you record, you learn something.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no way to know, and unless you do it. And if you don't have the privilege of having those experiences, from a super, super young age, like it's kind of, that's the process. It's like every single time you record, you're learning something. Like in my EP, we recorded it all to tape, and I was just like so nervous, and like did not know, like did not feel like I could be in the room. Like I've always battled myself and my self-worth, and I'm, like I said before, very hard on myself. So, but like every single experience I've had recording, I've gained confidence. And also, you do that, you perform, you find yourself in that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you're connected to, like, I listen to a lot of older music. I watch a lot of music documentaries, because I see a lot of myself in a lot of those people and their processes. And that also helped me gain more confidence and understanding, by seeing that like commonality and connectiveness to other artists, being like, oh, I feel that way too, or I think that way, or this is the way that I want to, this is the way that I write songs, or, so by the time I got into the studio in 2024, it was like I had the songs, and I was just like, all right, let's get this done, and I had like a renewed sense of who I was and the process. Like I knew the process more, so I felt more confident in it. So
Yeah.
it was a lot more fun, and I was able to like relax a bit more than I normally have been able to in the past.
I mean, that first time you go in to record, I mean, it's absolutely paralyzing for almost everybody. the take, because the take itself is like, you treat it like it's life or death. And if you said you're recording the tape, then the stakes are like that much higher. So that makes a lot of sense in the evolution. I love that you brought up just the concept of the process, because I think so many people still just perceive this as an inspiration based discipline, like the creation of music or the recording of music. And yet it's so, the professionalism is all in learning and evaluating processes, understanding techniques, deciding what's going to be mine and what isn't going to be mine, and what feels like a truth and an extension of yourself in the actual work, the process. So I find it really interesting.
The work
is definitely work.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, so you also hinted towards something which is my great curiosity with you, and I don't deep dive with almost anybody like this, but I feel like I have to with you, which is about your genre, because like our world is genre defying in general, but Julianna, yours is like super interesting mix to me. I mean, if I read, I let ChatGPT tell me all kinds of shit, but you being called country rock so many times was interesting to me, because I was like, I hear the pedal steel solo, but I don't, and maybe on the older records a little more what somebody would call country rock. And in Canada, what we call country rock is so different to me. Like it's the Gordon Lightfoot era influence, Neil Young-ish thing that people call country rock in Canada, which is so different than if you're in the southern US, what they would call country rock, right? And so that's a difficult, genres are very difficult in general. I'm obviously trying to get to that. But what's interesting is you're a young person.
Thank you.
And you're writing music to me that mostly is defined, I feel, by pretty historic influences. Like hearing, I think the song Seed, which kind of starts with like the 3/4 50s kind of soul ballad feeling, if that's accurate to you, like almost made me feel like Earth Angel playing with Michael J. Fox while he's watching his parents dance in Back to the Future. That kind of you know what I mean? That kind of feel.
I love that it brought you back there.
That's what it did. I had to literally go back and Google and ask like, what song was Michael J. Fox playing while I watched this? Anyhow, but then you like kick it up. But the way you kick that up at the very end of that tune is still like, to me, like a 50s rock and roll song almost. And it's got a lot of like the soul and the black music version of that in your music. And it feels almost more predominant on Echoes in the Dust than the country rock influence. Is that accurate for you to say? I watch a lot of old things and documentaries.
I like that
makes so much sense.
Yeah. I'm connected to, it's funny. I also think that like I would love to have gone to a show in the 50s or the 60s and actually see like, Otis Redding play, or, like Aretha Franklin or anything. I'm sure those shows were like way more rockin' than the stuff that is even available to us, like, so yeah, I don't know. I have a weird time with genre. I feel I'm kind of go back and forth. I just make the music that I hear in my mind, and that inspires me, and that comes out, and I follow my instincts, especially when I'm recording. I don't really like to put limitations on myself. I'm very easygoing about stuff. I just think whatever serves the song is the best decision to make. I'm always just trying to serve the song. And then also, like, maybe for this record too, I was thinking more about the live show, because I had more live show experience. I knew like what songs do I want to play live, and what kind of atmosphere do I want to create for the audience. So that definitely came to play. But I also think genres are a weird thing. I don't like to adhere to it, and I think that it is kind of a way for people to market stuff. To like genre is just a way to.
It's always been a category for records in a record store. It's
Yeah.
the easiest way for them to do it. Yeah.
But I think more and more we're seeing this, like, we're seeing other artists, especially like, I mean, I'll bring Beyonce into this conversation. Like,
Why
her,
not? That's
why
great.
not? Like, her last album, Cowboy Carter, was like basically a slap in the face to whatever top 40 country music, because she was basically saying, like, look, yeah, I am country, but I'm in an industry where you are painting me out to be R&B or pop, but I can be all of these things, and I will create an album that's reflective of of all of these different cultures and eras and inspirations. And you can't really call that record a country album, but you can call that a dance album, you can call that like rock and roll, you
Yeah.
can. So I don't know, all that like genre bending is very interesting to me. I don't like do it on purpose. It's just the way that I hear and interpret music. It's just the way my brain works. I don't know if it's uh doing a disservice to me, because it's hard to like pigeonhole what it is. Because I think some people listen to a record and they just want to listen
Yeah.
to a country record.
Sure.
But I also have an issue. I don't have an issue, I shouldn't say, but like I find that a lot of records today, and it could sound good sonically, and I don't want to mean this as a diss, but like it's more often than not, I feel like I'm listening to records where all the songs sound the same. And
You mean on an album? Like it's all
yeah,
like
like
10 tracks of the same thing?
it's
Yeah.
all kind of, and it's not the same, but it is the same. It's the same landscape. I don't know how to.
Do you think it's because everybody's writing for singles now, and people aren't writing for an album, right? An album, traditionally we created what you just called a
Maybe.
landscape, right? It's like where I start shouldn't be where I finish, and I should go up a hill and down it on the way, right? Just the way we tell stories, right? Is the same way. I don't think the industry does that. And it plays to sort of what you're saying before, is that, that it's the industry people who usually are pushing us more to like make everything sound a little more obvious, so that it's more obvious to an audience and I can sell it easier. Is really what it comes down to. Like you said, marketing. Like Post Malone made a country record, and what makes it sound country is that he had all Nashville players on it. And I liked the choice he made, which was to write the songs with established country people and just kind of find a middle ground that way. The way it came out was so polished, sort of Nashville polished, that it forced its way into the genre. But I guess what I would say is that there's a version where people genre bend, and I get that. And people have every right to do what they want. People are a little too critical of that. But then there's a different version, which is you. And I don't think you genre bend. I think you're authentically emoting the way you just described. Like, this is what I hear in my head. And the ability to get that out, like, is obviously a skill, right? That I can't listen to your songs and like put one finger on it. Like, I can hear a little more, 50s rock soul stuff or 60s soul in some records. And then I can hear a little straight Canadiana kind of rock riffs things in other songs, but a little bit of the other things still in there. Oh, you want to know what my craziest reference that you talk about a 50-year-old guy thinking things, not just Michael J. Fox playing Earth Angel, but I'm so old that this is what I thought after I saw you play, because you're so rambunctious in your live performance on stage. I loved it. What I was going to give you was the craziest reference, which was you invoked the memory of Leather Tuscadero on Happy Days, Fonzie's love interest. I don't know if you've ever seen an episode of Happy Days in your life.
I have. I used to watch it, but Leather Tuscadero.
Near the end of the series, I think she was like, her name was like Susie Quattro. She was an actual like
Yeah.
rock and roll star.
Yeah.
She kind of wore like the chokers, and she kind of had the hair that was just barely shoulder length. I don't know. Somehow you invoked the whole thing to me
That's
when you were
cool.
playing your guitar at Folk Fest, and it was very cool. Very cool. That's all a cool reference. Hopefully that doesn't go south on me. But
no, that's a solid, really cool
um,
reference. If I'm going to be
but
compared to anyone, it should be Susie Quattro. That's a first, though, I will say.
It is a first? Okay. I guess that's somewhere, that's not Nardwaring, but if it's a first, I guess that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
But I guess it all just goes back to me saying, like, I love the genre blend and a very old soul, old style influence coming in. And I guess it leads to another part I'm interested in about your choices, Julianna, which are to record the record yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're pretty still early into the career. You have an EP, and then you have your full length, which gets, released on a label. Is the choice to record this one yourself a specific choice for the freedoms of the studio, or is it even bigger, like the freedoms of the business?
I think
stuff that kind of creeps in.
It's. I mean, also, I think when I left the outfit, I really wanted to stand on my own 2 feet in like a real way. I love You've Changed, and I think Steve Lamke's amazing. It just felt like I needed to do this thing on my own. I also wanted to have the freedom, like you said, to release it when I wanted. And yeah, financially, I fund everything myself. So anything I make off of music goes back into it. It would be nice living in Canada to be like maybe have a little bit more grant funding would be nice, but not everyone gets those things. So, I think for me, a lot of times I'm looking at just like the model of like what the landscape of being on a record label is this day and age. And I found that, this just gave me a lot more freedom. And I felt like I was funding a lot of things myself anyways. So
Yeah.
I just thought it was the move. In many ways, it felt right. I think there are like positives and negatives to like every situation too. Like I'm finding that there are some hurdles that I need to get over. I have a lot more responsibility, but I'm willing to take all of those things on and those stresses because at the end of the day, I don't want to sacrifice my integrity or my art. Like I don't want to get like I have had people interested in wanting to sign me, but what they wanted to do that, I was not willing to sacrifice. So like I'm not going to sign away my masters in perpetuity to anybody. And maybe I'm like digging myself a hole by even saying that on this podcast, but I don't really care anymore. Like I just think
those people don't listen to this podcast, so you have nothing to worry about.
It's just one of those things where you just kind of like examine the way the industry is right now. And I'm having like, I'm constantly processing things and I'm trying to not get too existential about stuff. But like, I think a lot of people that do sign deals don't really understand what they're signing. And it is a huge sacrifice. And when you hear stories about artists who are like in their 60s and 70s and have no money, it's because someone made it and they took it from them. And we talk about me being an old soul and watching all these music documentaries and all these things. Like I've learned a thing or two from their mistakes, like from Tom Petty's mistakes. Not saying that I'm on the same level as him, but like,
it's not a level. It's what you said. It's at least the maturity to listen and understand.
Yeah.
Right.
So
like 25 and 30-year-olds aren't usually making decisions looking that far down the road. Right. It's really hard. And so I think scarier sometimes than the people signing the deals that they don't understand, or the ones signing them who do understand and
Hmm.
are just so convinced, like, I have to take my piece of the pie right now, and this is the only chance I'll get,
Yeah.
and not be willing to bet on themselves.
Yeah. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to do. It's like I believe in myself. Also, I feel like I'm constantly shifting my perspective in order to like to battle that existentialism of the industry and like the way things are set up. Like
Mm.
it's I believe that I'm meant to do this and that I'm very good at it. And that if I continue to just nurture that seed within me, that, you know, it will be rewarding for me in the long run in my life and hopefully connect with other people. But like you have to really sit down and ask yourself, why are you doing this? Why do you want to do this? You know,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this to be a millionaire. I'm not doing this to be famous. I'm doing this because it's my purpose and because I I feel this is what I've been put on the earth to do,
Mm.
you know? And it's hard sometimes, especially with everything going on in the world, because it's just like, oh my God, you know, you really have to like advocate for yourself and like believe in yourself in almost a delusional way because everyone and
Oh
their
yeah.
mothers is trying to
Yeah.
do it, you know?
You talk to a friend of mine, Dan Mangan. He's the first to say you have to have a healthy dose of delusion to be able to do this.
Yeah, it's hard.
Absolutely. It is very hard, and it's hard to keep going because A, the people who usually start are validation junkies.
Yeah.
And then B, you get to a point when you realize that people's validation will not be enough to keep you to the next record or keep you going.
Yeah.
Um, I think what's interesting about all of that and your experience, the way I've heard it in different versions, is you you clearly protrude to me the person who is in this because like you believe this is what you're meant to do and this is what you can do best and you're willing to give everything to it and it just is a natural, it comes out of you. And to be honest, like I've spent so much time on the business side of music that you're the type of person they're all going around looking for. Like they gravitate towards somebody who looks like they're a lifer and they're sold on themselves and believe in themselves to that kind of level and has chops behind it, right?
Yeah.
So that is what they look for. And the great irony is that you're the one that they want to go sign, but you're the one who becomes self-aware enough to realize how bad a deal that is,
Yeah.
right? And it's just this shitty irony in the business that the opportunity could be there for them to truly help your career and be a partner rather than the old models, which just aren't worth partnering up with. So I
Yeah.
totally get that. And I
There's
won't
some
go on about it so that you don't feel like you're shitting your career
Well,
by,
but like the point is I don't think that. Like the thing is I think that I have to put my when I say shift my perspective, it's like it's easy to look at anybody who you think is doing better than you, but the
mm-hmm,
reality is nobody is. Like and
mm-hmm,
it's a lot of people, I know a lot of successful people that are optically successful that are in so much debt because it's the way the
yeah,
industry works. Unfortunately, I feel like there's a weird thing happening in this day and age too, like you're saying, like the old model doesn't exist anymore, so everyone's looking for like TikTok virality, and they're all looking to sign somebody who can cultivate their own success and following.
yeah,
So it's I'm worried that it's becoming less about the music in this day and age and more about, you know, the validation and like convincing people to smell your farts, you know, for lack of a better term. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to say, like, I know that if I keep working on me and my songwriting and my producing chops and all of those things, like, I'm learning a lot from all these experiences. And I'm also just like a workhorse. So like I love to be on tour. Like I love to be on tour. I love playing shows. I work myself to the bone, you know, because that's just the way I'm wired, you know.
Well, you said you had to take on a lot more doing this choice. So you've probably
Yeah.
had to, you're probably referencing the business side of your career, which is not what every artist loves to have to do and learn, but
Yeah.
especially, and a lot of them are always aspiring to have the team because they want to get out of it, right? They were like, I'm tired of booking
Yeah.
my own shows and talking to people and having to arrange everything. So they want to build the big team up, but it's funny to me how many at different stages will turn around and start to go back the other way, which is why you're of great interest, because like you're learning this and you're displaying this like pretty early
Mm-hmm.
in your career. So what has been, I'm going to ask you this question. What has been the hardest aspect or thing that you've had to take on or do by choosing to say, I'm gonna go this on my own and bet on myself? Like, you know, is it having to like some part of the business side of it
Yeah,
yourself? What part is what is hard?
I think what's hard is like having to stay on top of all of those business aspects. Like, yeah, I have a team of people that help me. Like, I have a manager, I have a booking agent, I have a publicist, I have a radio team. Like, it's knowing all those different facets. Like, that would be something that the label would just do and be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we found this person or we did this and like they're working on this, and then they front the money and pay them, and you know, all I have to do is, you
Yeah.
know, show up to the gig. But like it's everything. I mean, like, yeah, it's just all those business things, being in tune to those business things, marketing stuff, especially in this day and age where it's just like it's so
Well, that's
soul
what you
sucking.
lose, right? Like that's the
Yeah.
one thing, isn't it? Because you can ditch a label, you can still, like you said, you can have your own publicist and radio team and agent and manager. But generally, musicians, there isn't an industry of like, there isn't a marketing industry specific musicians. Labels do that or artists do it independently, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Also for this release, I signed a distribution deal with like a digital distribution company called AWOL, which is
Okay.
like a subsidiary of Sony, and they have like a built-in marketing team.
Mm.
So but it's like all that to me is like, I'm like, just knowing all that stuff, it's like hard to balance those things and that knowledge with like being authentically myself and not letting all of that drown me, like in my perspective of like why
Yeah.
I'm even doing this. Because why I'm doing this is because I want to write songs and I want to perform them. But now we live in a day and age where like I have to create videos or content every day to bring people in. And it's like I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I will to a certain extent, but I've had to check myself in some moments to be like, this is sucking my soul out of my body. You know, like I
Yeah.
need to center myself, go touch grass and like, you know, figure out, you know, why I'm even doing this. You
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
I
That
think if
was,
I do that, then I can connect, you know, then I don't think you need to like, I'm battling the idea that you need to like constantly be making content in order to connect with people, you know? It's it's
yeah.
it's
So I
weird.
work day job in a marketing agency
Yeah.
because I learned how to do all this shit when I was playing music, and then it's turned into a day job for me.
Nice.
And I wrestle with it all the time too when I'm supposed to be selling it to clients about where the value is on all this stuff and what people tell you and the trends, but especially with musicians. Like I referenced Dan before, he was episode 1 with me. I started this whole thing off with him, and that was a significant part of our conversation, is his absolute existential dread over turning into a content creator instead of an artist. And it's very real for a lot of people. And I think that's one aspect probably of a few for different people, where you have to find that balance, right? Of what do I need to do, but how do I make sure this doesn't suck the joy out of this? And then you become one of those jaded people that you meet at conferences and festivals in the music business who are too old for this shit and get a little too tired of it and stuff. You kind of want the joy to still be there.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer too. Like I don't want to become jaded. And I am also open to the idea of like and I'm open to accepting this new way of doing things, but not at the expense of who I am authentically as a person, or my, what is rewarding for me creatively, like if it's stealing my joy, then I don't want to do it,
Yeah.
But I also think like, TikTok, if, I don't want to be one of those people that are like, I don't get TikTok, freaking TikTok, blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, we can't really change the fact that this is what people are connecting with right now. So you can be mad all you want about it, but it doesn't change the fact that like, this is how people are connecting to the majority of music now. It's just like MySpace turned into Facebook, turned into Instagram, like this. Now it's, whatever. It's just, you got to keep flowing upstream with the rest of everybody. But within
I think the music industry has a couple of things to learn right now in that regard. Like what I find really interesting in my space that I'm in, in the space that I'm in,
Tom from MySpace.
Yes, Tom. Is that so? It's called that we're in an attention industry right now, right? This competition over everybody's attention spans, which apparently get lower and lower thanks to our devices and all the research and things that are out there. However, we're still talking about the inevitability of having to market yourself, right? You have to sell yourself. And this goes back to the beginning of the second. It's great if you want to sit in your room and write songs. The second you decide I want people to hear my songs is the second you start to enter the business, right? Mm-hmm. Like even in the smallest way, if it's on a street corner and you open your guitar case up, it doesn't matter. Like in some small way, we become part of something more than just, I wrote some songs. I want people to hear those songs. I want people to engage with those songs. How do I go about doing that? I guess what I find interesting right now with TikTok and then with what AI is doing is the word that comes back in every seminar I go to and thing I learn is intent. And what's changing in the attention industry is like when marketers sell, they have this thing they call a marketing funnel, right? The tight little bottom of the funnel is where people are like essentially spending their money. And at the top wide part is where they're just giving their attention and you try to move them down. But the concept of intent is that everybody wants to act out of some version of attention. In other words, people are out there wanting to not just hear the same 10 songs on a record sound the same. There's a lot of people who want to hear an artist deliver a record. They want to hear variety. They want to hear different colors of how you can write a song. They want to hear, and we miss all of that when marketers make the decisions. We miss all of the joy of art and how much intent is actually out there. And even in our marketing efforts, people are missing it. And yet it keeps bubbling up because humans are humans. And they're actually they were on MySpace looking for something. They embraced Napster despite its great illegality because it was quicker access to the thing that they were looking for and that they wanted. And we bemoan Spotify for its business model, rightfully so, but everybody begged to have the world's music library in their hand for decades. And there's an intent in there one way or another, and it ends up so often on the shoulders of the artist again at the end of the day to keep deciding how they're going to define their path with that. And I love just hearing how you're wrestling with that. But that's a bit more of a depressing side of a conversation. We'll skip that one, because for the listener, they should know too, for you to be like saying, I don't want to be jaded. I don't want to be one of those people. And I've made a joke about you being playful before. So the listener should know you're sitting crisscross applesauce on a bed at your parents' house, which is
yes. Crisscross applesauce.
It feels like the least jaded posture I could have a conversation with somebody about. So I have no worries about future Julianna being jaded.
I'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Okay, tell me about the song Against the Grain, Julianna. Because I want to know about this song because it's a great song.
Yeah.
And then I heard it on the Subaru commercial, and then I was like, holy shit, that's Julianna. Yeah. I heard it like literally the day after Ken told me we were going to book this conversation. So I thought that was cool. Yeah. And I don't know if that's your first big placement or if there's been some others, but it's a song that you wrote with somebody. Again, it's got a lot of throwback influence in that songwriting, and yet it's so accessible and so catchy, and it's not on the records. So
no,
it's on its own. So tell me about it.
Yeah, that's its own thing. The origin story of Against the Grain is my friend Adrian Underhill, who is a very talented musician and songwriter as well, from Toronto, Ontario, was doing some work for a publisher, and he got a brief for a Subaru commercial. For the title was Against the Grain. He had to write a song. The brief was something like, Linda Ronstadt, Laurel Canyon. Like,
oh my God.
They give you all these notes to be like, oh, this is the direction if you're writing songs for commercial or TV. I don't know, for the listeners at home. So that was the brief. And so he reached out to me, and I was, home. I just happened to be home from tour at the time. And I had told myself that year, I'm just going to say yes to everything. I was one of that was my New Year's resolution. I'm not going to be too cool for anything. I'm just going to say yes. And Adrian reached out, and I thought, oh, great. It's awesome when you can get session work like that, because it helps pay the bills. And so it started off as a commercial, a song written specifically for a Subaru commercial titled Against the Grain. And I sang it I did the track in like 15 minutes. And I've done a lot of different stuff for TV and film, bids or whatever. And, 9 times out of 10, they don't, you don't ever hear anything. It's just, it puts food on the table. And so I did it, not really thinking anything was going to come of it. And then I think I happened to be in Virginia. My husband's from Virginia, and Adrian's like, they love the song. They love the song. And I'm like, what? Oh my God. Okay. And they're like, they just want you to do some, what's the word I'm looking for? They just wanted me to they wanted to change the words. Cause also this is the thing with ads and stuff. They have everyone, I imagine, I don't know how it actually works. I'm always doing these things at home, but or in the studio, but I just imagine all these ad people being like, the word needs to be this here, or whatever. Yeah. And it's that's going to change the entire, anyway. So anyways, we humored them and we made the changes. I did it, re-recorded it in Virginia in a closet on a standard, ribbon mic.
Wow.
And and we cut that in 15 minutes, sent the revisions, and then they used it for the commercial. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then the commercial came out while I was on tour, and everyone was losing their shit about it. And it was crazy to me, because you just don't ever do things thinking that anything's going to come of it, because as an artist and as a person in the industry, you get used to throwing a lot of things at the wall and nothing sticking, you get conditioned. to mitigate your expectations. So anyways, it was aired and I didn't really know when it was going to be on air or whatever, but as soon as it was coming out, I was getting messages from people. People were like, who sings this song? Who sings this song? Subaru was like, everyone loves the song. That turned into us eventually recording a longer version of it, like a full length version to release on our own. That took a long time because Subaru wanted us to they wanted to release it as Subaru. And then their team at the production company was like, I don't really think that's a good look for you guys, which I'm happy that they advocated for Adrian and I in that way. But yeah, we released a full length. I think it was like a year later or something. Maybe it was longer than that. And people really liked it. And they still like it. And
the commercial is still playing.
The commercial is still playing. I can't believe it. It's been like 3 years. And there's been like 3 or 4 different versions of the commercial. It's nuts to me. It's nuts.
And you keep, and so everybody understands, you keep getting paid if that thing keeps playing.
Yes.
The same way, the way those kind of agreements work. I've got some friends who,
you get residuals.
They secretly write a lot of jingles because they keep it quiet because they're afraid of their indie cred, but they've been really good at it, and it's in this economy. It's floated their career. Yeah.
In this economy, like, I don't knock anyone for, like, that's what I mean about, that you're me saying, like, I was gonna say yes to everything. Like, also there's this funny, it's not funny. It's a specific mentality that I had while I was in the outfit, which was kind of like that, we're almost like we're too good for certain things and, not going to dip into that. And like, I was just like, what? I need the money. I need the money. I'm going to say yes to things. I'm not going to be too good for things. I'm going to challenge also, not even that I thought I was too good for things, just like, I just wanted to challenge myself. In my mind, I was just thinking, any opportunity I get to sing is a great opportunity and a learning experience. So I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I hear what you're saying, but I mean, I always go back to like Sheryl Crow. Wasn't Sheryl Crow? Didn't she write jingles at the beginning of her career? And
absolutely.
I don't know if it helps me in between times too when I'm like not touring. Also, touring is a whole other conversation in this day and age. So if it helps me create more of my own art, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Well, and we form opinions when we're younger. Often we decide to narrow the box because we think that helps us form an identity, or we don't even know it, but we are, right? And so, and it goes back to what you said about your songwriting and being willing to evaluate a past version of yourself and then even let it go. I feel in the same way we form opinions, especially in music, where we're like whole concept of indie cred or whatever it may be. We're just trying to help define ourselves, I think, mostly internally. Then, you get older and your mind opens up to things. You say yes to things. You have to be willing to change and accept that you're not the same person and you may look at things differently and try not to give a shit what everybody else says or thinks.
I also, if it's like opened up my music, if it's opened me up to a broader audience of people that then goes and listens to my records, then like that's great.
Well, it's not like you sang a jingle that you're embarrassed, like a jingle. It's not a jingle, right? Like it's not a jingle. It's no, just because it's in a commercial. Like it's a song the language that's in your library.
The language that's used in it is not something I would write about. It was specifically written for this commercial brief, which the whole concept of the commercial was going against the grain, so it's a song written for a car commercial.
Yeah.
That obviously spoke to a lot of people.
But it
you
also
know?
uses a pretty common colloquialism, so it's not hard to write broader concepts. And then you write a really
Mhm.
good song that sits in your catalog and doesn't stick out as not part of your catalog. Like that's a pretty fortuitous place to end up with doing a radio commercial, I
Yeah,
think.
it's you know what? I'm all for it. I still do commercials and stuff. Like I've done a couple other things in the
Yeah, good for
States
you.
and like, it's good. It helps me like I'll engineer the sessions myself at home and
Yeah.
like I learned that way and yeah, like I said, it gives me the opportunity to, you know, challenge myself and also pay the bills because,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
I like what you said
yeah.
about, by the way, that, you throw in this business and being an artist, you throw so many things against the wall. And it's not even saying like, I'm going to see what sticks. You just expect them all to not stick, but you keep throwing them anyhow. I just think it's interesting as a creative in general. I just went through like performance reviews with people I work with, who are designers and such.
Hmm.
And with one or two of them I had to say, by the way, like it's okay that you took some swings and that didn't work out. Like you can't be a creative and not take even micro swings all the time. And maybe they'll take 10 swings at something and I'll only say yes to one of them. That's just the life of a creative, right? You're just constantly trying to express out the
Yeah.
thing that you saw and you just don't always get it right, or someone just didn't see it the way you saw it. And there's
Yeah.
nothing you could have done about that anyhow.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter.
I always say mistakes are golden too. I think everything offers a learning opportunity in a
Yeah,
way
exactly.
to, you know, I don't know, understand yourself or what you want to do more. I don't know. Like,
Yeah. Well, I told each one of them, I'm like, every one of those swings is information
yeah.
and taught you whether it was a yes or a no to it. So, but I think it's a great song, by the way. Anyhow,
I'm glad you like
so
it.
you are you are ready. You were on the road for a while with your album release.
Yeah.
You have a little break, and you're about to go on another leg. By the time this is
Yes.
published, you will be in the throes of tour again. A little America, a little Canada, a
A
little
little bit. Yeah.
Europe.
Yes.
So what do you do to prepare to go get back on the road? Do you just like all of a sudden the night before you're packing shit up and then you're on a plane or a van the next day, or do you feel like you have to sort of do some work to kind of get yourself back into a touring headspace?
I do feel like before I go on tour, I get like really anxious, like not about performing, but like because on the road you encounter lots of things that go wrong. And a lot of times, like a lot of situations that need and require problem solving in a very, in very quick time. So, yeah, I think I have to prepare myself. I prepare myself mentally that way just to be like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to get into this headspace where like when we're on tour, I'm basically tour managing and my partner, Roddy, who plays bass in the band, is also driving and tour managing as well. So we are we get organized. We have a van. I rent a U-Haul trailer because we have big loud amps that I don't want to sacrifice because selfishly, that's why I'm doing this whole thing is to perform and to play the amps I want to play.
Oh, I love that.
I will not downsize, not yet. But
Okay, I gotta pause you. Sorry.
yeah.
I have to know then what's the amp? What is the amp that you won't go and play somebody else's backline? It has to be
Okay, well,
this amp.
it's not even that big of an amp now that I say, but the amp that I will always play is a Vox AC30.
Okay, well, size doesn't matter, but those are the heaviest fuckers in the world,
Yeah, I mean,
regardless to haul around.
yeah, I have like
Yeah, I get it.
we have like, and every amp goes in a case, in a road
Yeah,
case. Especially when you're touring in the colder months, like I don't know, just the thought of the thought of my amps being so cold all the time is sad to me. So yeah, I play a Vox AC30, and then I also have a what year is I have a Bandmaster from, I think it's 67. I think
I'm
it's
just stuck on the
67.
fact that you told me earlier that you feel so deeply, and then you just expressed how you feel about your poor amps being in the cold in a road case with such genuine empathy. That's pretty fantastic.
It's true though. Yeah, I mean, every night when we're on tour, we bring our guitars in, even if it's cold. Like,
Yeah,
I bring my guitar, all my
I'm the same
instruments
way.
in.
I used to take the tubes right out of my deluxe
Really?
reverb because I didn't want them rattling in the
Yeah.
cold around and
Yeah.
possibly damaging, because I had taken special care in choosing my tubes,
Yeah, yeah,
bit of a
yeah.
nerdy thing, but I
No,
get it.
I feel that. I hear what you're saying there. Yeah. Vox AC30 all the way. I just purchased one, and it's the best. It's the best sounding through my Rick, and also I have a Gibson guitar from 50s, 57. I think it is an ES 125, and it sounds incredible through a Vox AC30. Like, it's like nothing I've always struggled with, like, my guitar tone. I hate when I feel like my guitar sounds just like a bunch of like rubber bands, for lack of a better word, like it's just really thin. And
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
and I was on the road. I'm kind of meandering, but I hope this is okay. I tell this story.
No, I'm a geek on this stuff. I want to hear it.
So we were touring in Europe, and we get backline when we're in Europe, obviously, because we can't bring our amps with us. And our first show was in this Norwegian town called Tromsø, which is like really, really close to it's like the furthest north you can go before you get to the Arctic, I think, or something. And so we had to, our first gig was there. So we had to fly in from Amsterdam, get our back line, then drive from Amsterdam all the way to Oslo, Norway, and then fly from Oslo to Tromsø. I had rented like an amplifier that was like, I think it was like a Fender Deluxe or something, or maybe it was a Princeton. I think it was probably a Princeton, because that's what I had been using. I'm like, it sounds good, whatever. And we were at this gig in Tromsø, and the back line there was a Vox AC30, and I plugged into that after like, whatever, 40 hours of travel and just being so tired. And I plugged into like this kind of raggedy looking Vox AC30, and it sounded unbelievable. So unbelievable. I had such a great show that like the next, like in that moment, I looked at Roddy and I was like, we're going back to the backline place, and I'm getting a Vox AC30 like for the rest of the tour. So I think we played a couple shows and then worked our way back to the Netherlands. And as soon as we did, we like stopped off at the backline place and we're like, do you have any Vox AC30s? When we switched it. So I'm like fully converted and never.
That's such a good story. Like, you just can't imagine going to the northern part of the world and that they still have Vox amps up in that far away in the world, for one, or that would be the place that changed the trajectory of your guitar playing thing.
Also,
like
when I like plugged it in, it all of a sudden I felt like an idiot, because I was like, well, obviously this sounds good because it's a Rickenbacker in a Vox amp. Like, they're meant to be together. And the fact that it took me this long is kind of embarrassing. But anyways, you live and you learn.
It's that pure joy of the sound between guitar and amp, right? Not the pedal board. It's just the tone has to already be there to make it magical for you, right?
Yeah. And all the other stuff is just extra. Like, I don't really use that many pedals either. I have like, I've always been like, also up until like a few years ago, I've been one of those like purists of being like, just a tuner pedal into my guitar, into my amp, whatever. Just, it's funny, but I don't know.
Yeah, I made the fatal mistake early of leaning so heavily on just the magic between a semi-hollow body and a screaming tube amp that all of a sudden I realized that I started playing different rooms. Like you said before, all the rooms are different. And I get in I remember we were in a hall show opening for Danny Michelle, and they're like, can you put the amp at the front facing you and turn it down 50%? And I'm like, I can't. Yeah. This doesn't start to scream until I get it up to the 4, you know?
Yeah.
And then I was like paralyzed. What do? You have to start to learn how to figure that shit out. But it still comes down to the amp. But
yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, I could nerd out with you about touring and guitar amps any day, but I've taken so much of your time, and you have been the most gracious person I can even believe. So, and my dog wants to pee so bad, she's going to start making a lot of noise. But you're on tour right now. As people are listening to this, I hope that they've had a chance to see you, and will start to look for you every time you come through town.
Yes.
Your show is fantastic. The punchy guitar tone was some of my favorite part of it. So whatever you seem to dig in your tone, I totally dig. So, but your live show is really great too, Julianna. So I want to encourage everybody to get a chance to get out and see you. Thank you so much for this and for the time to just chat about your career and kind of, like I said, how you got to where you are, and just allowing people to see who you are through conversation. I can't wait for people to listen and get to know you a little more, and hopefully create a few more fans of Julianna Riolino.
Thank you. Thanks for chatting with me and letting me spiral a little bit, meander my squirrel brain, and excited to play. It. I'm excited to play these next shows, and definitely, if you're listening to this, come out, because you won't be disappointed. I promise
you won't be. Okay, well, best of luck. I hope that there's no major causes of anxiety and that it goes as smooth as possible. And
thank you.
I'm definitely looking forward to hearing what's next for you as well.
Thank you. Me too.
Hey, I'm Alexi. Stick around for post-fame with me and my dad.
Yeah, I totally get it. I better... Yeah, okay. It looks like levels are fine. Maybe a little bit loud. I should hold this down.
I'll just yell.
You'll just yell. No, you won't, because you don't have a voice. Welcome to season 3, Almost Famous Enough Post-Fame, with Alexi and Glen. And we're going to start off with Glen doing most of the talking, which I'm generally told is something I should not be doing on Post-Fame, and I should let Alexi do more talking. But
not today.
But not today, just because you don't really have a voice. It's just the timing of it all.
Not emotionally, guys.
No. Okay.
I'm sick.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. That's fine. Well, anyhow, thanks for doing it still.
Yes.
Back on the train for season 3, and I'm happy about that and looking forward to it. And we're starting it off with a fun one. For me, I had a few choices about who's going first, and I thought it just kind of had this spirit of how I hope season 3 to go. And there's a couple of them that we've already recorded and that I'm looking forward to sharing, that had kind of the same kind of energy and just a little more, banter feeling, and just this general at the end of, this is somebody I could totally hang out with. And so that was a lot of fun. As you know, Julianna was somebody I kind of wanted to get on the podcast.
I was going to say, this is kind of like a nice full circle of we talked about this in season 2.
Yep.
And now we're doing a little callback for the start of season 3.
Yeah, that's the other reason I liked it, because I think maybe in some future, maybe next episode or the one after, we'll talk a little more maybe about things we'd like to see more in season 3 or ideas and stuff. But definitely this is like a nice little callback circle. So having her on, and having that, I just had such an interest, and then I really enjoyed the show back in the summer, and then reached out, and then it was possible and available, and she's heading back out on tour, and it's a good time. So all of that worked out. So it was really good. And I guess my overall summary of talking with her is probably captured in just a couple of moments of just being able to sort of make a little joke and her just being able to kind of run with the joke a little bit. And I was like, yeah, that's like a very cool person. And I liked that she is very, I'm trying to think of what the right word is, but she just sort of like, you always hear the stories like, I knew from the time I was 4.
Stop. This is my notes. Stop right now.
What?
Look at my notes that I put. The biggest thing of it is like, you were like, did you always feel like a songwriter? And before you could even finish your sentence, she was like, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I didn't
and it was so quick. And then as soon as you finished your sentence, she was talking about something and then she just like interrupted herself and went, I feel first and foremost that I'm a songwriter. And then was like, she didn't finish this thought, but she started by saying, I've been trudging through life with my guitar and the melodies in my head, trying to, and then she cut herself off and talked about something kind of unrelated. But I was like, I love someone who's just like, yeah, like this is like, like hockey players, for example, where like I started skating when I was 3 and this has been it for me. And you're like, I respect that so much.
Yeah.
It's like the music equivalent is her.
But here's the characteristic that I was like reading off of her, like interpreting. Do you know what I mean? Like with the inside of the words, like, and this is where I get that it's really subjective and maybe I was wrong or way off. But this is how I strongly felt about that fact, which is at the same time as, that, I got this feeling like it also just has worked out for her, right? Like I'm doing this thing and I'm enjoying it. But the way she talked about her joy and enjoyment of like when she started like doing different kind of like professional crafts, like learning the stained glass and even the bricklaying stuff. Like you get this sense like if it didn't work out, she probably would be doing something else that felt very satisfying and expressive of herself. Like she wouldn't get trapped in just some job. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it's different than that typical story of like, I was always going to be a pop star or I was always going to do this but yes, this very resolute version of like, I always knew I was going to do this. I just started.
It's who she is, not
like
that's
the career exactly.
she knew she was going to fall into.
Yeah, there was nothing sort of like heady about it. It was just like, she started playing the guitar. She felt inspired very young and early. She just kept doing the thing and the thing just kept working out and she just kept doing it more. Anyhow, like there was just such a level of authenticity that just felt like it was layers deep. You know what I mean?
I was going to say, like, I feel like she calls herself a songwriter in referring to, like, her soul and who she is as a person and not, like, a title and a career. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Anyhow, when you talk and engage and meet somebody, and I know this is over a Zoom type thing, but it's still in person, right? Like, you're still reading off of each other and engaging in that energy exchange. When that happens and you just get a real sense that you're talking to somebody who feels very comfortable with who they are and the choices they made and where they're at and just the way they approach it, I just really leaves an effect on you. And so those kind of moments are always exciting for me. And just, I told you I'm tempted to, like, it makes me want to release the full video because just the way she would smile and laugh and the way that like you could tell when a thought was when she liked the thought or was funny or whatever, you could just see it coming across her face before it even escaped her mouth. And that is just a fun personality to talk to. So I really enjoyed that. The dog is joining us. Hi.
Hello, girl.
Are you going to be on the podcast?
Posting with Glen, Alexi, and Blue.
Anyhow, so I really enjoyed all of that kind of stuff. And you're right. I liked when she said that about the songwriter stuff. Definitely, I thought it was funny when we started talking near the end about guitars and stuff. And then I just kind of told her, like, I just think it's funny that you told me that you are such a deep feeler and stuff. And then she got like so like a little emotional about her guitar amps being in the cold road cases in the van and stuff. And I thought that was really funny and I kind of called her on it. But we were sort of starting to, we could have geeked out on guitars and stuff for a little bit. Anyhow, all cool things. I definitely also enjoy being able to do one like this, not just because selfishly I was really impressed and thought this is somebody I'd like to meet, and then I get to have the conversation and find out more, but also somebody that, because you know how I am with just like kind of preaching music, I kind of want everybody else to kind of hear the same things I heard and be like, I want to go listen to her music. I want to go to her show when she comes through. So I hope that is positive that way.
Yeah.
Speaking of shows, 2026, want to be able to get off on a good foot, but January is not typically a great date for gigs rolling through Edmonton, Alberta. So, but I've gotten out to one that I enjoyed, and I think you did too.
I've gone to 3.
What? You have not?
Yes,
You've gone to 3 already?
Yeah, I've gone to 2 at the Starlight Room Temple and 1 at Midway.
Oh, well, you're way ahead of me. Yeah. All I've gone to see is the Goldie Boutillier show, which again is also a callback, throwback, whatever, to the Folk Fest, who I caught kind of the back half of her show, and I thought she was really, really good and a really good performer. So I saw that. Sorry, I thought the only one that you went to was the one at Midway.
Midway for Men I Trust.
Yeah.
So good. I was at Starlight Room Temple the first time for Ruby Plume.
That's right. You told me about Ruby Plume.
Which was also incredible. And then I was there for my friend's girl that he was seeing.
More of a...
Was small. I don't know. I don't know.
This is just a typical, like, hometown rock and roll love fall out of love story. But guy likes girl plays in band. Guy needs to go and bring all his friends to see girl play in band. Yeah. You were one of the ones dragged along. Yeah. That's a great time, though.
That one was not the highlight, though.
That wasn't the highlight of them, but okay. Well, we'll leave it at that then. Some great shows coming up I'm looking forward to in Edmonton, the biggest one being Matt Berninger of The National. So if other people are looking, you should look where you are in Canada and see where Matt's coming through, because I really like his solo stuff. You can't always say that about the singer making his own records after having such massive success in a band. So,
do you want to hear something embarrassing?
Always.
So the only tickets I have now for the rest of the year, as of right now, this will change obviously as it does, is to A$AP Rocky.
Oh. Were you guaranteed to be in on those? Or I thought you were just going to pick them up if she doesn't.
I was going to pick them up if her boyfriend didn't go with her. And then I was told that she actually just wants to go with me and not her boyfriend.
I think that was always the plan.
You know what? I think I just got roped into going to a concert.
I think you just got roped into a $500 ticket or something.
No, it wasn't bad.
Okay. Did you see? Are you a fan of Camp with 2 A's?
Okay, yes. And it's the night before my birthday. They're showing Edmonton. And I had 3 different people send it to me. I'm like, guys, I'm so poor right now. Who wants to buy me my ticket?
Your birthday? You can plead?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will be attending.
I thought you were a fan of Camp.
Yeah, I will be attending. I don't know how or when, but...
Well, that's cool. That'll be a fun one for you.
Yeah.
And we really liked Post Malone when we saw him in 2019. Mm-hmm. And he was even near the top of my list a couple of years ago in my Spotify Wrapped. But I'm not going to go to the show that's here.
No.
I think it's going to cost so much money.
Yeah. And I don't like his new stuff.
And I don't necessarily want to go through the whole show, because you're going to pay for like other big names on the bill that I'm not interested in paying for.
But the stuff
Do you think he'll play all the country stuff?
That's what I'm saying. That if he plays any of that, I'm not going to be that interested. Because I think that's what it will be. Especially because of the people he's with. And then he'll rip out the couple bangers. And we've already heard them.
Yeah, but he's the type of guy I would pay to just hear him go and play all the old bangers 100%. And not in a classic rock sort of way. In like, it's not going to be that. You're right. And here's the thing is like, I gonna go on record and say I didn't even hate the country album. I thought it had a couple of like pretty good songs, but he also chose to write the whole album with some real stars. Mm-hmm. But he's not going to perform with all those stars, so it won't even if I like really liked those songs, they will not even feel close to the same. Mm-mm. It's not like he's going to pull a couple of them into the show in Edmonton.
Not for Edmonton.
And yeah, you're right. When it really comes down to it, I just kind of want to hear the old like moody cussing Post Malone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where he's like in terrible cut-off jeans and no shirt and
Like at ours when
walking
he's
around
like
with
pissed drunk
with his
and
cup the whole time.
yeah.
Yeah, smoking the whole time while he sings. There's a couple songs I'd still love to hear him sing like that alive again.
And you're valid.
Very valid. Okay, well, things to look forward to in season 3. Just want to thank everybody for listening and happy to be back and taking another run and keeping it rolling. And most of all, happy that you're back.
Yes.
Okay, hope you feel better soon.
Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.